We've got headlines. We've got headlines. Let's talk about the headlines every single day. More actual stories. What's going on, everybody? Christian Pedersen back with another episode of Seahawks Digest, the show that, in case you missed it, is here to bring you the news. Here to talk about the Seahawks every single day, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And mostly, though, it has been good. There's a couple injuries sprinkling in here and there, but none of that on this one. We got to talk about a move. We got to talk about a potential move, and we got to talk about Brian Fleury going through the growing pains as the new offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. As always, I am encouraged to tell you to like, subscribe, comment, share all of said buttons because it is a YouTube show. The move, we're at another running back. Now, I jokingly said about 2 weeks ago, or about a week ago, that we're going to cover the running backs on every single gosh darn episode of this show the entire season. So far, true to that word in every sense. It is crazy to me that we keep finding running backs to discuss every single episode, and yet here we are with another one being added now to the rotation. I would be curious if this isn't just a camp leg being added. Do they do camp legs the same way you have camp arms? Unsure as to where in an already crowded situation this guy fits anything other than just, like I said, having some help out here on the camp level / putting pressure on the guys. But yeah, TJ Harden, welcome in to the Seahawks family for as long as you're here. Next one, I want to talk about a potential move, and that could be keeping one of our recent draft picks who is having a strong impression at camp, and that is Emanuel Henderson. He is a receiver out of Kansas, and saying, let's get excited about a Kansas football player sounds kind of ostensibly weird to me, given the history of Kansas football the last 10 years, but here we are. The thing that is really interesting, two things. Let me give you two, to me, interesting things as we call up this quote here from Coach on the training camp that Mr. Henderson is having himself. I think it's interesting, both the amount of depth that we are talking. I'm not trying to be a hipster and just be like, oh, we're going to talk about the sixth wide receiver. We're going to talk about the fourth tight end. We're going to talk about the pass-catching running back. That's kind of where we're at, though, is that, like, the amount of depth the Seahawks have this year, we are at, like, that's the interesting plot line. So he's showing a lot of great stuff. Special teams coordinator Jay Harbaugh told reporters he's learning, he's getting better. You see the movement skills, the speed, the twitch, the acceleration, yada, 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 positive stuff, keep making improvements. You can pause and read all of that. I talked over it long enough as well. Maybe the specifics of the actual quote are neither here nor there, but I like the overall enthusiasm. I don't think you take several lines to compliment a guy on a litany of different aspects of his game if you haven't genuinely been impressed. Now, most likely, I mean, this is the special teams guy talking about it, so it's most likely that he will be amongst the special teams for his initial, like, crack into the rotation. But if we have the opportunity to add a guy to the board who is a sixth wide receiver option and someone that has explosiveness and maneuverability and speed and agility and mindset, A, that's great to have on special teams. B, that sounds exactly like how Sheed got involved in the offense last year. He was just a dude who had the goods, and we just got to figure it out. And if that is our fifth or even sixth wide receiver, depending on, like, Jake Bobo and stuff, that's freaking lethal. I'm talking about a bunch of guys this training camp, it feels like, who are going to have maybe potentially diluted low down numbers because there's just so many playmakers that this almost feels like some of these drives are going to be incredibly short. And we're going to just be like, oh, man, so it's only at 4 catches, and yet we won by 28? Huh, that's dope. Speaking of the offense, the third story to talk about today, Brian Fleury. Some quotes from him, some quotes about him. He's getting tested by one of the best defensive coordinators, if not the best defensive coordinator / head coach in the entire NFL, and Mike Macdonald. And it is interesting to hear the feedback, the reaction, the growing pains, if you will, because this is Fleury doing his first gig as a play caller after being the tight ends coach in San Francisco. And we've talked like some of this. I'm starting to do the repeats of like, what's he going to look like? Who's he going to be? But nonetheless, here we are. And it is, I think, kind of interesting to see this evolving in real time. Talking about Mike's doing a great job of putting me through the ringer in terms of challenging situations. We go through different ones every day. He said, following practice, pull up part 2. It's more challenging in practice than it will be a lot of times in the games with the variety and the pressure packages and the movement and the physicality they come with every single day. It's good to face that and then transition. When you're game planning and things are a little bit slowed down and a little bit more specific, it makes it seem easier and slower. I maybe had not fully kind of conceptualized, internalized, vocalized, whatever the word is, of like, to me, the growth, the learning curve and growth that I had visualized, let's go with that, for Fleury was going to come in preseason, if not even in games like 1 through 4. Once he really started being like, we're going to just run the ones out there and adapt and get some actual like gritting in the teeth play calling. I hadn't thought about like the concept of if it's starting D versus some degree of that starting O, and coach is like, hey, we're putting you in 3rd and 10, then we're putting you in goal line, then we're going over here. Like if you're in the course of a couple of days, if you're running through, hey, I'm the DC and I'm trying to get my boys right, and we're really coming after it, heavy blitz package situations for a while, 3rd down, right, like things that are tailored to defensive install, that is probably a good opportunity for every defense or offensive coordinator to, cut their teeth a little bit. But that's an interesting premise, that being paired up against somebody whose defense just finished being the highest scoring defense in the NFL. And if you will believe some of the pundits who know nothing about football, but yet work for ESPN, the reincarnation of the Brian Urlacher dragging Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton to a Super Bowl based off of how like disproportionately, the defense was succeeding last year. To be going up against that and going up against the guy who calls that defense and has now kind of instilled himself as a legend here. It's a pretty interesting premise to be like, hey, he's getting thrown immediately into the deep end. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be like, oh, he's like, I don't think they're going 11 on 11, starting O, starting D. We're just going to clash for 40 minutes. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's little pockets in there where Fleury is absolutely right that once you get through that, the rest of that stuff's easy, dog. And to just be dialed in on, we're going to go out there and perform our best, because the last 2 weeks of camp was us just getting, we're getting shot at from every angle, and I'm ready to go. I'm kind of interested to maybe scoot up that timeline. I'm still going to give them training camp into the regular season to like not start. I don't want to put them on the hot seat or anything, but let's maybe move up the learning curve a little bit. That's what I got for you. 3 stories today. Let me know what else you want to talk about. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, share, all those other YouTube buttons. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.